All right, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Annie Wooden, and I'm the owner of the Sanders County Ledger. I am very happy to be sponsoring this forum. I love election season. It's so much work for us at the paper, for our election staff, for the candidates, but it's so much fun. This forum is sponsored by the Sanders County Ledger, along with this chance to get to know the local candidates. This week, we're also going to be featuring candidate profiles, a little bit of biographical information about them, and then some different questions than what you'll get to hear tonight. Tonight's questions are relevant to all the candidates in the race. They're not directed at a certain specific candidate. The candidate order on stage was chosen very scientifically. We put numbers in a hat and drew them out. So as people are sitting up here, it's totally random between me and my high school helper. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. And then we're also going to rotate who answers first. When a candidate has 15 seconds left, dinner's ready? I'll ring the bell. And then when their 2 minutes are up, the microphone will be shut off. So just as a reminder for the candidates, I ask that you answer the question. You focus on the answer, and if you stray from that topic, your microphone will be shut off, and we'll move on to the next candidate. And then I just ask that everybody, audience, candidates, be respectful. Talk about your experience and your qualifications, not other people. This is a great chance for the community to get to know you all. The questions have been prepared in advance. They were not shared with the candidates. You will have a chance afterward. They'll stick around and you'll get to chat with them if you have any specific questions for candidates. So how this is going to work is we have some uncontested races, and we're going to hear from those candidates first. And then we'll hear from the commissioner candidates and then the sheriff candidates. So first, I'm going to invite the candidates for state representative for House District 13, Paul Fielder and Colleen Hines. If you'll come up to the stage, please. And please watch your step when you come up. And for these candidates will be giving introductions. They'll have 2 minutes to speak. But don't worry, and you guys can just stand up front there. Ahead of the general election, we'll do this again, and then that's when they'll get the tough questions. So each of you will have 2 minutes to do an introduction. Just hold it, it's on me.
Good evening, hello, everyone. It'd be nice to see your faces, but I guess I can kind of figure it out. I am Colleen Hines, and I am running for House District 13 to be your next House representative in Helena. And I live in Heron. I've been there about 50 years. I've got a 36-year career of being a nurse, and I've delivered babies, and I've been on one end and then on the other end. And I'm here because I care for everybody. So, any questions, or you can talk to me later, or get a pamphlet in the back. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Fielder. I'm your current representative in the Montana House of Representatives. Last session was my first term. My wife is Senator Jennifer Fielder, who served 8 years in the Senate. So through our 10 years so far in the legislature, I've learned an awful lot about how to be very effective in there. This past session, I was able to sponsor 8 bills that were passed into law. By training, I'm a wildlife biologist. I served as a wildlife biologist for 31 years. In the legislature, I'm on the House Fish and Wildlife Committee, the Natural Resources Committee, and the Taxation Committee. I picked those first 2 committees because they're close to my background. We see a lot of wildfires that are burning here and polluting up our air, and I'm trying to work to try to reduce the wildfires and reduce the smoke pollution that we're breathing in. Being in the legislature is a tough thing to do. You know, you leave home for 4 months, you go over there, you live in Helena, and I tell people if you can get by on 5 hours of sleep a night, you'll be all right for 4 months. it's a long grind. And if you know the system, you know the procedures that you have to go through in committees to pass laws and to speak against bad laws and to speak for good laws, you can be pretty effective there. So I'd like you to send me back because there's a lot of work left to be done. I'm there to try to protect our freedoms so that we have less restrictions, more freedoms, and thank you.
Thank you, guys. You can have a seat. Thank you. And next we have House District 14, Denley Logie and Randy Mitchell.
It is bright. I'm Danley Logie. I live down in St. Regis. I graduated from high school 1968 from St. Regis. During the summers, I worked construction, paid for my college, got a bachelor in geography, certified in secondary education, but I learned to love working on the roads. So I had a career of 17 years for working for private sector contractors, building road, building lookout pass, most of the interstate to Missoula and places around the state. Got to know the state pretty well doing that. Actually spent one winter up in Alaska. I was one of the ice road truckers for about a year. In 1968, I started purchasing a family ranch. I've been helping my dad with it, but with the need to stay at home and take care of the cows, I went to work for the Montana Department of Transportation. I was just part of the crew to start with, and then I ended up being the section man in Superior for 6 years. Then I went back up to Lookout Pass as a section man up there. Totally, I spent 22 years on Lookout Pass plowing snow and the years in Superior, so I had 28 years with the Highway Department. And upon retirement, House District 14 had an open space. Our legislator was moving to England, so I stepped in and took that spot, put my name in, got elected. I've been on the Fish and Game Committee for 3 terms, Transportation Committee for 3 terms, and Business and Labor for 3 terms. I was made chairman of the Transportation Committee as a sophomore, which is kind of unheard of, but I actually have more experience on the highway than our highway director. So I get called in for a lot of advice on that.
And I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you. Okay, and next up we have the candidates for Sanders County Clerk and Recorder, Treasurer, and Superintendent of Schools, Katie French and Nicole Springer.
Hi, I'm Katie French. Kathleen French is what the ballot's going to say. I am 2 decades in Sanders County, married to a 4th generation Montanan. I am an engineer by degree, profession. Lots of experience in management, project management, treasury. Many of you might know me. I've been very active with the Sanders County Fair as a treasurer with concession group for, I don't know, at least a dozen years. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all kinds of activities. Very busy with election activity. I am running because I think there is a need. I don't think that the position is being filled in the way that it can be filled. I think that as a community we deserve better. I think we need to demand better. And I'm hoping to make a difference, better for the community. Part of this job, it's a boring title, boring job in terms of what the policy issues are, but it's very necessary infrastructure. And I think with all the people moving into the community, with this population boom that we're seeing, we've got to make sure that our infrastructure is sound. And this job is responsible for so much infrastructure, soft infrastructure for the county. And we have to make sure that it's sound, that it's good, so that all the other infrastructure that our commissioner candidates are interested in moving forward with the community can move forward. So, thank you.
Hello, I'm Nicole Springer. I'm your current clerk and recorder, treasurer, superintendent of schools, and election administrator. I have a communication degree in organizational communication and a master of business with an emphasis in accounting. I took over as clerk and recorder back in 2013, and in 2018, the commissioner decided to combine the offices to save the county some money. Effectively, we saved the county about $60,000 annually by having the offices combined. I enjoy my daily job. It's anything but boring. I see many of you out there as my trained election judges. Thank you for your service and keeping Sanders County at the top of safe elections in the state of Montana. I greatly appreciate all of the work that you do. As treasurer, we're in charge of collecting your taxes. I work daily with people to keep them in their homes and provide them resources to be able to afford the taxes that are coming down from all of the new people moving in and paying well above asking price. I love coming into work every day. My staff is amazing. The only way I can do this job is the amazing staff that I have. They really keep the offices running. If you've come into the treasurer's office with the remodel that we did, wait times have been cut in half. We've increased tax collection to 98% for the first half of this year. When I took office, we were at 76%. My name is Nicole Springer. I appreciate your vote and thank you for re-electing me to the board.
Thank you, ladies. Next, we have the candidates for Sanders County Coroner, Pat Barber and Martin Spring. Is Martin here? Is Martin here?
I think he's in California.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for giving me this opportunity. My name is Pat Harper. I am your current Sanders County Coroner. Previously, before that, I was a deputy coroner with the Sheriff's Department. Back last fall, the commissioners decided to get the coroner's office and responsibilities out of the Sheriff's Department and decided to make its own standalone entity. I applied for that position, was selected, and then appointed to that position as the head coroner last fall. I bring to you over 30 years of experience that has blended very well into this position. 20 years with the U.S. Coast Guard as a helicopter waste operator, and then 10 years or continuing after that working in EMS on helicopter-based ambulances, ground-based ambulances, working in the ER departments of hospitals, working in the cardiac center of a hospital. And all that comes together to bring a good experience and background for this position. I am a working coroner. Typically in Montana, the coroner is a department head only. I am a department head and responsible for everything within the coroner's department, but I am also a responding coroner to deaths in the county. And I think that's important, one, to keep me in the loop of things that need to be done and training-wise. Also provides you guys a bonus. You're getting 2 paid positions for the price of 1. So that's good. Last week we had a candidate venue where I got to sit down and talk with a lot of people, and I really enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity to have the one-on-one communication, and I look forward to that to hear it. If after this is over, you want to sit down and talk with me or stand up and talk with me, I think that's what we'll be doing here. I'll gladly share that with you. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Pat Harper, Sanders County Coroner.
And next, I'm going to invite up the candidates for Sanders County Justice of the Peace, Judge Dryden and Carl Marquardt.
Hi, I'm Doug Dryden. I'm the Sanders County Justice of the Peace. I have been so since 2017. As Justice of the Peace here, my job is to take care of all the misdemeanor offenses in the county, and that can be a host of things from driving things to thefts to partner family member assaults. We have a busy office there, and over the last 5 years that I've been serving as judge, I've been able to go and get 240 hours of training, which is mandatory for us as judges through the Supreme Court. And so we are taught by the university law professors and Supreme Court justices and such. Prior to that, I was a Montana law enforcement officer for 26 years. And during that time, I was able to have 1,600 plus hours of criminal justice training. And more importantly for me, I wrote cases and testified in justice courts, district courts, and federal court, so that I had the opportunity to be working in courts and understanding how our justice system works. As judge here, every time a case comes before me, I look at the nature and the circumstances of the crime, and then I look at the Montana statutes, criminal statutes that we have, and my sentencing comes down to what I believe is best for the person, meaning what that person needs. If it's a person who's not figuring things out, then they're probably going to need jail, so they're going to go to jail. Others of us, including many of you in this room, make a mistake, and it's my choice to try to be gracious to all of us who make mistakes that way. In the world of civil lawsuits, we handle lots of civil lawsuits here as well, and I try to mix a whole lot of common sense with the law on civil lawsuits. I appreciate your vote on June 7th to continue to be the Justice of Peace. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carl Marquardt. I am running for Justice of Peace as well. I have been a resident of the state of Montana since 1994. First time I came here was in '78. I was in diapers. Graduated from Thompson Falls High School in 1996 and embarked in a career in the United States Air Force. That career spanned 21 years. Got to travel all over the world, meet a lot of amazing people, and do a lot of amazing things. In 2008, I had an opportunity to come back here to Montana as an Air Force recruiter, and I got to spend my last 9 years in the state of Montana, which is where I call home. Upon retiring from the Air Force, we moved back here. My wife is from here. Her family's been here since the turn of 19 whatever. So after retiring, I needed to do another chapter in life. I was a young man, 39, retired, needed a job. Got a job at the Sanders County Sheriff's Office as a detention officer. Kind of spoiled. I didn't like working nights and weekends. So an opportunity came up for me to go be a clerk in the Justice Court. Since I've been up there, I have a passion for the law. Went back to school, got a second bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I'm currently enrolled in a criminal justice degree program for my master's. So I decided to run for Justice of the Peace because I think there needs to be change. Things that need to be done from the bench is impartiality, consistency, and equality for those people that we serve that come through the court system. I appreciate your vote when it comes to November.
Thank you. And now we have our lone candidate for Sanders County Attorney, Naomi Lease.
well, I can't see in front of me, but my name's Naomi. I see a lot of faces that I do know. For those of you who don't know me, I was elected in 2019 for county attorney. Now, I have no one running against me, so I guess I'm it for the next 4 years. Let's see, the last time people got upset because I didn't give my background, I'm from Trail Creek. I lived in Sanders County most of my whole life, except when I went to college. I graduated from Moxon High School. I went to Montana State University, California State University. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a Juris Doctorate degree. And before I became county attorney, I was the city attorney for Thompson Falls for about, I think, 2 years. And I also served an interim period for a couple of years as a deputy county attorney, working some civil matters back, I don't even know when, 2005, something like that. And before that, I was in private practice in Trail Creek for many years. And I also worked the last 5 years before I was elected county attorney as private in-house counsel for a large oil field services company. So I have a diverse background. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I guess, I can't remember now what else I was going to say. I think some of the important things that we've worked on since I've become county attorney is the Sanders County Sexual Assault Response Team. We have managed to, sorry, there's no one running against me, so.
It's fairness though.
So I'm quite proud of putting that team together. We finally made it to where we're meeting every month, and there's a great group of people.
Okay, I'm very sorry. We have to keep it fair. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm really a nice person. So now we're going to get started with the Sanders County Commissioner candidates. This year we're going to be voting in for 2 commissioners, District 1 and District 2. We have 4 candidates for District 1 and 3 for District 2, so I will invite those people to come up, please.
Daniel, you're on the end. Dan, you're second. Have you really seen Don tonight?
Mainly your shoulder pads aren't going to give us any fun.
Is Don here? Has anybody seen him tonight?
Oh man, I feel like I'm going to get a sun.
So this will be on all the time. I'll shut it off when the 2 minutes is up, and then please just pass it on to the next person.
All right, and again, all the candidates will answer every question. Everyone will have 2 minutes to answer, and then I'll just ask, if you go over the 2 minutes, I'll turn the microphone off, which I'm very good at, you see, and then, and then please pass it to the next person.
You want to stand up?
You're welcome to stand if you want to, it's up to you. Okay, so, the first question is, what are the 2 most pressing matters you believe the commissioners will face in the upcoming term? Mr. Holland, if you'll go first.
I feel that the transportation, or not transportation, roads are the probably the #1 issue, and the health issue is seems to be a pretty hot issue that's going on right now.
Oh,
I am.
I'm so sorry. After this question, we'll do our introductions. I'm so sorry. Answer the question. Sorry. So,
Again, the question is, what are the two most pressing matters you believe the commissioners will face in the upcoming term?
I think roads are one of the biggest issues in the county right now, and then also, as Johnny said, the health board and the issues that are going on with it also.
Well, I think it's the same thing here. The roads could be better, way better. Seems like we're good in keeping potholes, but not keeping it smooth. And the other challenge I think is going to be is the health. We all know here in Montana, they're trying to take away our rights and that kind of thing. So, and it's all coming down to the health line. So, thank you.
I think that two of the most important ones are going to be the housing development, one, and then the second one is the safety of the people, which goes along with the roads, the infrastructure, the hospitals, and the people moving in, and everything getting crowded, hospitals being crowded, fire halls not having enough room for expansion, things like that. So that's okay.
I think it's hard to narrow it down to just two, but I think, along with the other guys, I think infrastructure, particularly roads, are important, and the budget is going to be more challenging this coming year because of the asphalt prices are directly tied to the price of a barrel of oil. I think along with those pressures, the second thing is the solid waste is a huge problem in Sanders County, or will continue to be, and that budget will continue to eat up more and more of our tax dollars. And well, that's actually fees, but for many of the same reasons, transporting our trash to Thompson Falls is very expensive. I think we need to have look at all options on the table. Not saying I have the answer, but I recognize it as a problem.
I have 3 construction crews that run around the county, and so I'm super tempted to say roads. It's difficult when the weather's good, and it's more difficult when the weather isn't good. And the reality is that we have to figure out a way to stretch the budget further than we've had to in the past. Everyone in this room has felt the bite of the taxes going up, and that is an attempt on the part of the county to offset the rising costs, but it's still not enough, and it's still not a problem that we're going to solve by raising taxes. It's a problem that we're going to solve by raising the revenue base. And what I mean by that is, I genuinely believe the number one problem we've got right now that we have the potential to do something about is increasing the number of living wage jobs available to folks who live in this county already. We've seen a dramatic uptick in the cost of homes, the cost of land, the property taxes, and the folks who already live here working blue collar are being driven out. They can't afford to live here. Several people I've talked to recently had their rental house sold out from underneath them, were told they had to go, and they had no place to go. That is not okay. These are folks who, this is their home, and we have to figure out a way to address that.
All right, thank you.
Back to you.
So now we're going to introduce our commissioner candidates. Nothing like getting off to a start. So you each have 2 minutes to do an introduction, please.
Hello, and thank you guys for coming tonight. My name is John Holland. I'm running for Sanders County Commissioner for District 2. That takes in part of Plains, Paradise, Hot Springs, Camas Prairie, and Dixon. I was born in Hot Springs. I've lived in Plains all my life. I attended Plains schools 1st through 12th grade. After graduation, and I went to work at the sawmill, it met its demise, so it was time to do something else. So I had 1 year there. I went to the Votech in Missoula as heavy equipment operation. I worked 10 years on heavy highway construction, and I had an opportunity to go to work at home all the time. And with my family starting, I got a job with Montana Department of Transportation, and I worked 30 years there, starting out as temporary truck driver and ending as a section supervisor. I've been involved with the Plains School Board for 18 years. I've was chairman quite a few of those years. I was a member of the Plains Paradise Rural Fire Department for 26 years, starting as a fireman and ending as a chief. I currently on the board of trustees for the Plains Paradise Rural Fire Department. I've been there for 26 years, and I had the opportunity to do the budgets for a lot of years there. And with the school board, I had a lot of time to learn budgeting and implementing them. I want to thank you guys for coming, and please vote for me.
Okay, I'm Randy Arnold. I'm also running for District 2 County Commissioner. I grew up in Paradise, graduated from Plains High School. I also worked at the sawmill starting out, and then had to move around to other places in order to continue working. I wound up in Alaska working in culvert manufacturing, where I worked my way up to being the foreman there. I also went to Minnesota, and I went to the University of Minnesota, the on-site sewage treatment through the University of Minnesota, and became certified to design and install septic systems and also inspect them. And then after that, I worked road construction, mostly over in eastern Montana, so I could afford a living wage so I could live here. So I spent my summers over there paving and driving truck, working in eastern Montana so that I could live here. So, but thank you all for coming, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
I'm Malin Lee from Hot Springs. I was born and raised in Somerset, Pennsylvania, and lived in Montana a total of 14 years. I grew up driving horses, so you probably can figure out what I did. Anyway, my wife and I have 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls, and I started out at dairy farming, 140 acres, and then about 65 head of dairy cows. And then from there I went to construction, did pole barns, houses, log homes, and in 2008 I went to commercial roofing. So we're doing roofing now, and I got 160 acres over in Hot Springs, running about 70 head of cows. So I worked for myself all the years that I've been doing things except 2 years. I work by the hour, and I found out I don't enjoy that at all. So I quit that and went on my own. So looking forward to serving you guys in next year.
Hi, I'm Adam Page. I was born in Libby, Montana, and raised in Plains, Montana from the age 3 till 33. So I've been there for a while. I have a business degree from Western Montana College. like a lot of the people here in Sanders County, I'm kind of a jack of all trades as far as when I did live here in Sanders County. I worked construction, fires, putting in county spec subdivisions and things like that, road maintenance for Plum Creek when it was Plum Creek. And then after that, I moved to North Dakota and got to see what the infrastructure really looks like when it gets blown out from population, and it's very scary. So found out real quick that I did not want to be there and moved to Texas with a large company, a construction company called Floor, and was able to get into construction management where I managed large budgets, helped write contracts. At one time, I was managing 11 contractors, large contractors at one time, and had my own crew of other people that I was managing as well. During that time, we had over 10,000 people on site. We had, I've written policies and procedures, set budgets, made schedules, and when you bring large amounts of people into a community, you have to collaborate with the city and the sheriff's department.
Your time is up. Thanks, Madam.
Thank you.
I'm Dan Rowan. I'm the current mayor of Plains. Usually I start out at these things. Somebody told me, I think it was Tina Scott, that she'd heard my shtick before. And a spiel, excuse me. And then somebody told me after the event at the VFW, said, Dan, don't tell your story. Nobody cares. They want to know what you can do for them. I disagree a little bit. I think it is important to know who people are. I was not born in Plains, Hot Springs area. My immediate siblings were born in Hot Springs when the hospital was there. My mother was raised on Main Street right across from the Catholic Church. If you guys know where that's at, she turned 95 March 22nd. She's currently living with me after living on her own until she was 93, fell, broke her hip. Happy to take care of her, trying to keep her out of the rest home. My father was from South Georgia. They couldn't decide where they wanted to live when I was growing up, so back and forth a little bit. That's the short version. I'm currently in my second term as mayor. I was reelected on about a 2-to-1 margin. I think the people that know me best appreciated the things I've been able to do in my leadership in Plains. I served on Plains Town Council for 5 years prior to being elected. I got to be considered running for mayor much the same way that I find myself here tonight. I was asked. It wasn't my life's ambition to be mayor or county commissioner. The former mayor said, I was council president. He said, Dan, I'm thinking about, or I'm not going to run again. I encourage you to do it. And I said, if I don't do it, who will? And kind of one of the same thought processes is the reason I'm here tonight. Thank you.
I'm Daniel Moore. My wife and I own the Black Bear at Thompson Falls. When people ask me what I do, it's a little hard to describe. I would say that we are in the business of trying to figure out how to be of service. We bought the Black Bear with the idea that we could create jobs, create a family-friendly place for people to spend time. We have been fortunate in our lives. I am a 22-year Microsoft veteran. I still work for Microsoft. I've been working remotely for some years. People say, how can you possibly do Microsoft, do the construction company, do the bakery, do the deli, the call center, all the things that we're doing and be commissioner? And the reality is that we have the good fortune of being able to surround ourselves with great people. Nobody can do any of the things that we're talking about by themselves. You do it through surrounding yourselves with great people, building cohesive teams, and doing what you can to make them successful. And to the extent that they're successful, we all benefit. I really believe that my background and experience, which includes managing multi-million-dollar budgets, large organizations, complex legal matters, global relations, coupled with our deep commitment to this county and the investments we've already made and the investments we will continue to make no matter what happens here, give us something to offer. We believe we can do something in Sanders County that makes a difference. Do I think that any of these other candidates could do that? Absolutely. We've got great candidates all stepping forward to serve. I just happen to think that I'm someone who can serve well as well, also. So
Thank you so much. And now for our second question, I'm going to have Mr. Lee start, and then we'll go down and come back to Mr. Holland. So the next question is, what one part of county government would receive more attention if you were elected?
I would try to do it all the same across the Sanders County, because I know Hot Springs has bad roads, Knoxon and Heron does as well, and I would try to serve all of them equal.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So the question is, what one part of county government would receive more attention if you were elected?
That's a very difficult question. You know, I always say that it would be the people's safety, because that's what makes up the county. And I know that everyone says when I say that it's the sheriff's job, but really that you know, it's really not. It's a group's job, and it's not just the sheriff's job. It takes, you know, we help set the budgets, but they need our support as well, and that goes along with the fire department and the medical crews. So I would say the safety needs to be number one.
Adam's right, that is a tough question, and it's hard to boil it down to just one thing. Again, I'm going to go back to solid waste, and I know that's not the hot button issue. I can see, if I could see most of you, your eyes would probably be glazing over. Solid waste, who cares about that? It is a problem. Carol Brooker told me in talks I've had with her, the solid waste was one of the biggest, or the biggest headache she had as a commissioner. And for her to say that, I realize it's a bigger problem than what most people probably realize. I think we need an all-above approach to trying to figure out the way to make that solvent in the future. It is the only enterprise fund in the county's budget. It is supposed to stand on its own 2 feet. Nicole Springer told me a couple, 3 weeks ago that the $160 fee we pay on our taxes right now needed to be doubled to make that solvent right now, today. And I know there's been many people talk to me about the increased fees at the transfer sites, as well as fees that have been put in place where there were no fees before. And a lot of people feel like that's double dipping. That's what they've expressed to me. They pay it on their taxes, they pay it there, and they want some answers, and I'm willing to work on it and try to figure out a good solution for the residents of Sanders County.
I hear that question and it makes me think of which student in the classroom are you going to give the most attention to, or which part of your house are you going to be working on next summer? And the reality is that the county is a large, complex, and fluid organization. It's going to change continuously, and you have to be able to adapt and move towards whatever is currently requiring attention. To sit here and pretend that I can anticipate what's going to require attention 6 months from now or a year from now is not credible in my judgment. to that end, the one thing we know is we've got fixed rails around the budget. We have to make sure that we can manage the bottom line in a way that addresses whatever happens to be top of mind for the county at any given time. At this moment, we talk about sanitation or waste management, we talk about roads, we talk about law enforcement, or there's always something that is bursting at the seams that is going to pull our attention. And I think effective leadership is being able to move towards whatever is demanding attention right now and being effective at dealing with it, whatever that might be.
I'd like to say that I think these guys took the words right out of my mouth. You know, but I feel that all the issues need the same importance. If something comes up, you're going to have to deal with it. You can't push it aside. And like it was said, when there's going to be a lot of things that come up that might trump what's happening, and it's going to need immediate attention. And I just feel that all the issues need the same amount of attention to be able to work on.
And I agree. I don't think you can put any one thing at the top of the list. I think you need to be able to move from one to the other as it becomes necessary. Because as issues come up, you got to deal with them. So you can't just pick one and stick with it all the time. You're going to have to be able to, you got to be versatile and be able to jump back and forth at all the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And for our last question for the commissioners, we're going to start with Mr. Rowan. And the final question is, how would you describe Sanders County and its culture to someone unfamiliar with the area?
Varied culture, outdoor culture. People, we have a real outdoor heritage here, and people appreciate that. Mostly rural, I would say. Thompson Falls has the most people in the county population-wise, but I would still say Thompson Falls is rural. We have a lot of outdoor opportunity here, hiking, fishing, hunting, that type of thing. I think that's the first thing to come to mind, but that would not be all encompassing. There are varied interests, and Sanders County is a great place to live. I think most of us don't live here because we have to. We live here because we want to. I, like several of these gentlemen, worked out of state for many years. I took a pay cut to come home, but I like it here. This is my home. I've said before, if I won the Powerball tomorrow, and I'd have to start playing it to win it, but if hypothetically I won, I wouldn't move. Sanders County is my home. There's a lot of differences between Heron and Hot Springs and all points in between, but I love all of it. And I love the people in Sanders County as well.
When I look across this room, I see something that really represents how I think about the culture of the county. We have an aging demographic here. 10 years ago, the average age of a resident of Sanders County was 48 years old. Today, it's 52, and it continues to go up. The reason for that is because we have folks who live here who are aging in place. We have folks who see this as a great place to retire because of the outdoor opportunity and the quiet life. But we also have very limited opportunity for the young folks when they reach majority. So what happens is our best and brightest graduate from high school in order to pursue an opportunity or quality of life that they want. They have to go somewhere else to go to college, they have to go somewhere else to get that good living wage job, and as a result, we are not replacing ourselves. We're not building an economy or a culture that will result in young people saying, this is a great place for me to choose to raise my family. And so when I think about what it is we're trying to achieve, I would say we're trying to get past the impact of losing the logging industry in the 90s. There was a time when this was a booming economy, there was plenty of jobs, and a blue-collar family could make a good living and afford a house. And today, that is less true than it's ever been. Plenty of service jobs. If you want to work in the deli or work in the gas station, lots of opportunity there, but you cannot afford to live here if that's what you're doing. So I would say the culture of the county is really aging, economically struggling for the people that have lived here all their lives, and quite a bit of divergence between the new folks who've come in who have brought their money and they're comfortable, and the folks who are trying to figure out how to live in the wake of those changes.
Yeah, the question is, how would you describe Sanders County and its culture to someone unfamiliar with the area?
I'd start out kind of sounding like a travel agent because this is probably the most beautiful part of the state of Montana. I've covered quite a bit of it. You know, we have the wettest and we have the driest in Sanders County, so take your pick. If you want the water, go west. If you want dry, go north. And in between is all beautiful spots. And that's probably what I try to sell. I feel we do have some jobs here, but we don't have places for people to live. And that seems to be a pretty big issue with trying to get people, I know, with the hospital and whatnot. So you have to try to probably sell them on other things to get them to come here, but once they're here, they're going to love it.
I grew up here in Sanders County, fishing, hunting. I just love this place. I've moved away, I think, several times and always had to come back. I could not stay gone. So I would have to say it's probably one of the most beautiful places on earth, and I have been a lot of other places, and I've been eastern Montana, and it's no comparison to this side of the state. So that's how I would describe it.
This question is easy. The other one I misunderstood. But how would I describe Montana? I would say it is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. You've got beautiful blue skies. If you're a hiker, you can hike to the top of the mountain. And what are you going to see up there? You're going to look across the vast openness of what's out there and look way beyond the other peaks. You can go up into the mountains and fish. There's lakes up there. And then I would say, but you got to find a place to live. And if you want to go to Walmart, this is the greatest thing. It's an hour away, and that's what I love about Montana. It'd be nice to be 10 minutes away, but if you have that, you got everything else that goes with it. So you can take your pick, like John was saying, from the wettest to the driest. If you want to be dry, you can go to hot springs. You can irrigate your yard and your fields and have it green that way.
This question I was asked all the time when I was working in Louisiana and Texas, and it's pretty easy. I kind of sound like a bumper sticker, but it's the last best place, or it's God's country. And I think we all are sitting here because of that. And then I would say, as far as that goes, is the core values that we have here in the small town core values that we have in these communities, and how we take care of each other and look out for one another, and how great the people are. I mean, everyone across this board here always talks about how great the people are and how everyone, that's the reason why they're running for this office, is to be an ambassador for you guys and for the community, because they want the best for the community. And I'm getting off on a tangent, I know, I'm sorry. But that's what I would say. It's the people that make this God's country, and it makes it the last best place. And we just happen to have amazing scenery and outdoor activities to go along with it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner candidates. That wasn't so bad, right? Let's give them another round of applause.
Oh, I just cut in front of you. I'm so sorry. God.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
All right, so just give us a couple moments. I'd like to invite the sheriff candidates up here and we'll get everybody situated.
But we've got 6 we can take away, we've got 5, so.
Corey had to work today.
Yeah. Let's see, Maybe if you want to take that chair out and move this way a little bit. Oh wait, Sean, you're third.
I'm third?
Yeah.
I almost took your chair.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
And just to let everyone know, we are doing another forum Thursday night at 6 at the Paradise Center. And the candidates will like this. There will be different questions on Thursday night. Okay, now we have our candidates for Sanders County Sheriff. Again, the order was chosen at random. And we're going to go ahead and give everybody 2 minutes to do the introduction. And we'll start with Mr. Scott. No, I'm sorry, Corey isn't here tonight. He actually had to work and said that he couldn't reschedule and it would have required overtime, so he's not here. So Roy Scott is gonna be our first one.
Good evening, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Annie, for putting this on. I'm Roy Scott, one of your candidates for sheriff. I started out with the Sanders County Sheriff's Department, working in detention. Then I got on as a police officer with the Thompson Falls Police Department. Then I went back over to the sheriff's office after I got done with the academy. Actually, I finished up the academy as a deputy. Then I came back over to the Thompson Falls Police Department. There's been some misconception about how much time I have been. If you look, I have just under 7 years. I'm dedicated to this county. I'm dedicated to this town. I'm glad I went back to work for the police department because I've actually learned more in the last 2 years working for Chief Nichols than I did when I was at the sheriff's office. Thank you very much.
Good.
My name is Chris Dow. I'm also a candidate for Sanders County Sheriff. I've lived in Sanders County for just nearly 7 years. My wife has been here for nearly 20 years, actually over 20 years. And I lived in the Rocky Mountains for almost 30 years. I love the mountains. We have 5 children, Gabby, Kate, Maria, Elizabeth, and Isabella Montana Stow. And she's our newest, she's 6 weeks old. I'm a former active duty Marine Corps veteran. And I served in the Marine Corps with an MOS of 5811, which is a military police officer. After that, I attended counterterrorism school. I really enjoyed that and furthered my career in that venue. I was also a part of the Emergency Response Task Force at Camp Lejeune. Over the past near 30 years, almost 3 decades, I've continued my tenure to service our country in both the national and international venues. Currently, I contract with the DoD and other agencies that fall under U.S. Special Operations Command. I have 2 degrees, one's a bachelor's in science in Homeland Security, Public Safety, and Emergency Management. And I'm a certified first responder instructor and also emergency response certified incident commander. I am a Montana delegate for our county, and I just served my last day as a school board trustee in Oxford, 3 years. Supporting our kids and our parents. And I'm asking to serve you as sheriff. So thank you for having me.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Fielders. I'm retired after 27 years with the Sheriff's Office from Oregon. My wife and I moved here a few years back, and I think the description of this county by the commissioners described it quite well. We love the community. And so we decided this is where we were going to settle down, and I wasn't born here, but I'm going to probably die here. In the Sheriff's Office, I was blessed to have a great career. I started out as a reserve, was able to do things like Marine Patrol, Forest Patrol. I managed as a sergeant 3 contract cities that contracted for extra law enforcement with the Sheriff's Office. So I had 3 city councils, 3 mayors, and quite a few deputies that worked for those cities. And that was a management nightmare sometimes, but definitely a learning experience. I moved on to patrol sergeant from there and got a lot more experience. And I joined the SWAT team and was a SWAT sniper leader. And as well, I retired as a SWAT team commander. I have a lot of experience. I've investigated probably everywhere from shoplifting to homicides, and everything in between. I've got a lot of things that I'd like to bring back to Sanders County, although retirement seemed pretty nice, believe me. But, you know, it's one of those things, if you don't try, you don't have any room to complain about what you see. So I believe I'm still young enough and vibrant enough to take some of that experience that I gained over all these years of law enforcement and bring it back to Sanders County and keep it the kind of county and the caring county that it is right now.
Hi, my name is Lanny Hensley. I'm currently the Sanders County Undersheriff. I started my career in law enforcement in 1995 with the Sublette County Sheriff's Office in Pinedale, Wyoming. After 3 years, I got talked into going into the highway patrol, so I was a state trooper for 12 years in Wyoming. The first 6 of it was spent in the same county that I'd been a deputy in, and that's when I discovered that my true passion in law enforcement is rural communities. I transferred back to Cody, which is where I grew up. I'm a Montana native, but when I was about 4, my family moved to Wyoming. I grew up in the Cody area. But when I got back to Cody, it had changed so much. It wasn't where I'd grown up. And after 6 years, I decided I wanted to go back to working for a sheriff's office. And the first thing my wife said was, I'm not going back to Big Piney. So I ended up here, started as patrol deputy, and then in 2012 got appointed as undersheriff when my predecessor retired. And so for the last roughly 10 years, that's what I've been doing. Part of my goals is better community relationships, better training for our officers, better training across the board with fire, EMS, and law enforcement, because when anything bad happens, we're all 3 in the same boat. And right now, we don't do much training together, and that's not good for the community. Probably the biggest thing, and it's on everybody's mind, is the drug-related crime issue we have. Part of what I want to do is create a task force within Sanders County with police departments, the sheriff's office, and tackle the problem that way. Thanks.
I am Mark French, born and raised in Sanders County. I was born in Missoula, actually, before Plains had a hospital. Went to school in Paradise, high school in Plains, went to Montana State University, North Carolina for some internship training in medicine. Got married to my wife in the middle of that, have 5 growing children, all of them successful. Moved to Alaska, was in Alaska, Ketchikan for around 11 years, moved back, to live in the house I grew up in. My training and my job is in medicine. One of the greatest issues that we've had in the last year and a half or two has been medical related, and I think it'd be a really good idea to have somebody with some medical background as the sheriff in this county. My experience as far as law goes, I say it's on the correct side of the law. I've been dealing against the law enforcement attitude and for a peace officer attitude in the courts, in the legislature, and in the Sanders County Republican Central Committee. I probably have more actual law, constitutional law experience than any of the 5 on the panel. Why did I sign up to run for sheriff? I can remember sitting on Tom Rummel's porch talking him into running for sheriff because we want to have somebody from here, a redneck logger, as the sheriff. That's what I wanted. And now it's time for another resident of Sanders County that wants to protect our ways to run and be the sheriff for you, to keep Sanders County, Sanders County.
Chris, you can be the first to this one.
Okay, our first question for the sheriff candidates, and Mr. Stahl will start. How will you manage your budget to the line item to ensure that you are not wasting taxpayer dollars?
Wow, that's a pretty difficult question to answer in 2 minutes, but here's what I'll say. I do have a lot of experience managing budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets for both private and public sectors. And so obviously we want to keep true to the citizens of Sanders County on how we spend that money. But I mean, first and foremost, we need to spend it in a way that's going to provide the most optimal public safety environment for our public. That's going to protect our lives, our liberty, and properties. I think it's really important to understand that our budget right now is about $2.1 million. I come from an area, just temporarily, I was in an area where I had a county about the same size as Sanders County, and their budget was about $79 million. So we've got a big delta between those two numbers. Obviously, more population in that area. But the point is that we have to be creative, and I've done everything from writing grants so that we can be creative in the way that we manage our budget. We can also, we're bringing in extra resources. We also have to pull from our personal experience and resources because we want the 2 most important things to take effect, and that is we want to train our deputies to the maximum and make that a continuous effort. And we also want to make sure that they're well equipped. Being creative and looking at different type of rural development fundings that don't have a bunch of strings attached, and then also looking at grants that are available both public and private, those are going to be ways that we can look at things. But ultimately, the goal is to ensure the best public safety environment for our people here in Sanders County. So that's kind of how I would approach it.
Line item budgets are challenging at best. I've actually got a chance to look at the budget, and I think the best way to handle it right out of the hole is look at how we're using each line item. Waste is unfortunately too common. When we start looking at whether it be patrol or overtime or, again, right down to uniform budgets, how are we going to get the most bang for the buck out of what's on that line item? And I think prioritization of what we need and how we use what we have. Personally, I believe we can do a lot more with what we have. Organization skills is going to be something that's needed. We need to get this office working as a team and using the money we have right now to use it properly. The you can't ask the folks to add more money when you're not doing the job you should be doing with the money you have. So it's my opinion that we need to reorganize what we're doing, focus on the problems that we've got, and use the money that we have to the best of its ability before we go any further with that. Line items are something I would have to chat with the commissioners. If line items can be changed or moved around, that would be something to look at. If we have priorities that we need to move money from one to the other, that's a conversation to have with the county commissioners. It's, again, using the money we have and putting it in the right places within those line items. So I don't think we need more at the moment. I think we need to find out what we're doing wrong with what we have and use it a little bit better.
Oops, sorry. Every month, we get a cash on hand report from the county clerk and recorder's office. And how I would manage if I was the sheriff, I think my command staff needs to have at least weekly meetings on budget, what the priorities in each department are, and what the needs of the community are. One of the things that has occurred this year was the price of fuel. When we set last year's budget, we did not ever think the fuel prices would be as high as they are now. Luckily, we do have some leeway. There's enough of a cushion in there because we were able to make some compromises and come up with that. But I think prioritizing the needs of the community, having regular meetings, and reviewing the report that comes from the courthouse is the basics of making any budget work.
I haven't studied the line items. I'll go general on this. We just need to be living within our means. What I see is focus on victimless crimes. Seatbelts, speeding tickets are not priority. When running around Sanders County, I hear theft, drug-related crime, especially from Trout Creek west. There's people in Knox that are downright desperate because what is being done is pretty much nothing, according to some of the residents there that I've been talking to.
And I'm sorry, the question is about the budget. Can you say how that is toward the budget?
How do we deal with the budget? We live within our means. We stop focusing on unrelated victimless issues and focus on crime, theft, and drug trafficking, and use the resources that we have to focus on those things. We don't need a bigger budget. We don't need more personnel. We don't need a new sheriff's department, sheriff's office. We just need to adjust the personnel that we have. Instead of harassing people on victimless issues, focus on crime. When the ledger prints 13 issues, one of them is DUI, and 12 of them are speeding and seatbelt. That's not where I'd have my priorities. I'd have my priorities on the people's priorities, and that's theft and drug trafficking.
So I've been looking over the budget. I've been sitting down with a few people that have been helping me try to decipher some of the things that's going on with it. Overtime is definitely out of control. There's a few deputies that apparently work when they want. That needs to get under control. It used to be whenever I worked there that you had to get approval for overtime. It needs to go back to that. That overtime should be saved just in case we do have something serious happen that we absolutely need to put some people on overtime. There's some other things that I've been looking at that could be moved around on the budget a little bit. Obviously, if it were I'd be sitting down with the commissioners instead of working against them, work with them, try to come up with a plan to make sure that every taxpayer's dollar is spent wisely. Thank you.
And our next question, we're going to start with Mr. Fielders. What is your plan to best engage, develop, and hold department employees accountable to perform their assigned job and serve the county residents effectively?
Well, the one neat thing the sheriff gets to do is, number one, set policy and procedure. And that would be one of my primary goals right out of the hole, is to set a new policy and procedure manual. I believe the sheriff and his deputies who represent the sheriff work for the people. We've all heard horror stories probably about what has or hasn't happened as far as somebody getting a call for service and nobody showing up. It would be my policy, if you call the sheriff's office for service, you will be contacted by a deputy. And we got to understand that it's a big county and sometimes there's only one deputy on and they may be tied up with something else. I know the policy in my previous sheriff's office was the very same thing. You would be contacted by a deputy. Now, dispatch very often say, well, you know, he's on a major crash right now, but he'll get back with you as soon as he's clear, and that kind of thing. And that's what I would expect to happen. Folks need to know that they're going to get contacted. It may be a little thing in a deputy's mind to them that it's easy to blow off what they call trivial calls, but it's not trivial. If somebody felt the need to call the sheriff's office and needs either advice or needs some service in some way. The sheriff's office is a business. The only thing we have to sell is service. If we can't provide that, then we're not doing our job. So that's going to be a major priority to me, is I want my deputies to be part of the community and not just cruising through the blocks and whatnot. I want them stopping, I want them talking with the folks, finding out the heartbeat of these small towns and the larger towns. I want them to be part of the community. And I think that is going to be huge as far as making them responsible and have some buy-in.
The question is, what is your plan to best engage, develop, and hold department employees accountable to perform their assigned job and serve the county residents effectively?
So Sean hit on one thing. It's the duty of the sheriff to provide policy. It's also the duty of the sheriff to provide goals and vision and a direction for the sheriff's office. And the best way you can accomplish holding people accountable to those is to lead by example and get out, work with your people, get out and engage with the public, relay to the deputies what they expect and what's needed. And you have a supervisory staff that will help stay on top of that. And it should align with your policies. That's one of what when I talk about better community relationships, I think that, like he said, when the officers are in the community, they're gonna be a lot more vested in what's going on when they're there day to day, they're in the schools, they're taking these calls. One of the other things is training. With dispatch training, calls for service training, we made a pretty major switch a couple of years ago to a different records management system. And, that takes a lot of training to keep up on that because it changed the way we had to do things. But I think having the sheriff make clear expectations and a clear direction and vision of what he thinks the public wants and holding people accountable to that is the way to go.
What comes to mind to me is communication within the department, and that means daily if necessary, maybe 2 times a week. I don't know how that would actually play out efficiently with the different shifts and things like that. But get together with the department, whether the sheriff has to come in on day shift and an evening shift and then night shift to keep the communication going between the shifts. What are your issues with the staff? Let the department know what the vision of the sheriff is, what the expectations are. Lay out goals for merit increases and yearly evaluations, or how we're maybe every 6 months to start with, until the staff gets lined up with the new sheriff. The peace officer attitude is what I would promote. The very first day would be, we are no longer law enforcement, we are peace officers. And that makes life better for everyone, the public and the officers. A peace officer and their family are welcome into the community. They're not looked down upon, they're not shunned. That would change the whole attitude of the county, from the people who are served and the people who are doing the service. It's fun to be a peace officer. For example, I'm a referee, and I don't make a 3-second call. Get out of the key, get out of the key. Now if he stays in the key, bang him, but coach him out of the key. That's what a peace officer does.
Accountability with the sheriff's office pretty much right now is non-existent, has been for a long time. Things need to be redone. There needs to be new policy, new procedure. Absolutely. It needs to be written by the sheriff, it needs to be upheld. And he needs to have his command staff take care of those things for him, as well as him taking care of himself. There shouldn't be people getting away with the things that they're getting away with right now. We need to work together. We need to be a team. That's why I left the sheriff's office. It was no longer a team. Where I work now is a team. We have patrol meetings. Patrol meetings are very important. Communication is important. Holding your people accountable is important. Giving them recognition whenever they go above and beyond for their community, that's important. Whenever I was a deputy and now as a police officer, a lot of people in here know me, a lot of people don't. You'll see me out walking around, whether I'm on duty or off duty. I stop in and talk to people. I go to church on Sunday whenever I'm in uniform. Sometimes whenever I'm off, I go to church out of uniform. The kids don't like it as much, but I think it's important that if your deputies are out there on patrol and they don't have any calls pending and they want to go to church, they need to go to church. Whether it's their church or someone else's church, people like to see us there. We need to be stopping into businesses and talking to people. Business owners hear things. Cafe owners hear things. They have concerns that they want to get to us. The sheriff needs to be doing the same thing, not sitting in an office. He needs to take care of what he needs to do. He needs to get out there, and he needs to mix with the people. Every person in this community throughout this whole county is important.
So I think everybody can recall the comment with regard to communication, and that communication solves the majority of the issues. So the first thing I would do with our sheriff department is I would create a mission, and I would have everybody in the sheriff's department redefine what the mission of our role is within the community and within the department. And so when you do that, you vector everybody in the right direction or in the same direction so that your force of impact is as great as it can be. The next thing you need to do is develop priorities in terms of what are the top 5 priorities that the deputies will address every day when they go out and when they leave the office. And so daily briefings are going to be critical to that. And you also need to make sure that those priorities are very, very clear within the rest of the office too, so that we can back the deputies up in terms of what needs to happen. Accountability goes with that because if you communicated what the expectations are at that point. I think it's important to get the union involved. I've been involved with collective bargaining and unions to some extent, and it's important to have them on board too, because if you have a particular issue where things aren't being done the way that you expect it to be done as sheriff and not in the best interest of the community, then there has to be a process to resolve those issues. I've had the opportunity to sit down with Rich Wallace with Human Resources. I have a lot of experiences. I've been consulted to look into risk mitigation for Fortune 500, 1,000 companies. I've written policies and procedures. And so if you have a solid policy manual, if you have solid expectation, clear and concise directives that everybody knows about every day that they walk into the office, the level of impact is going to be exactly where you need it to be. Thank you.
And our next question, we'll start with Mr. Hensley. How will you keep the community informed of changes or activity within the department?
Currently, the sheriff's office has a Facebook page. We have Detective Josephson that monitors that. He does a pretty good job. One of the things I would like to do also in addition to that would be to have an actual sheriff's office website that had links to the state statutes, road conditions, violent offender registries, but also the crime mapping and the calls for service. That has to be, I have resources that can help with that, and they've said they would come here and do that with us. It's pretty labor intensive when you tie it into your CAD system and your dispatch, but I think the public would be able to see what's going on because they could get on there and they could see what types of calls are concentrated in which areas. And I think in addition to that, I think the sheriff just needs to be out more and needs to be stopping in, at least once a month on each end of the county, having coffee with people at restaurants or talking to business owners like was mentioned before, to keep people informed and in the loop of what's going on. Another thing would be to have like citizen police academies. Those are kind of labor intensive, but I think it's a good investment because the public understands what we do and they understand our role in the community better that way.
I want to say Facebook and Twitter, but I'd probably get blocked. I guess I'd probably go with a website, like Lanny's saying, that the community knows about and can go to that website. And as Lanny said, I agree, the sheriff, there's no reason in a 4-year term a sheriff can't drive every road in this county and touch every citizen, sit on the porch of every citizen, lean over the fence of every citizen in this county. And the communication daily or every other day or however that would work as far as the department, the officers, these peace officers that aren't attacking, they're aiding, there's going to be relationships develop. And what the sheriff's attitude is going to cross over into the officer. And my instruction to the officer is get out there and build relationships. That's what's going to make the difference in this accountability team that I referenced in my flyer. It's engaging the people, and instead of having the people and the officers at odds with each other, we have the people and the officers on the same team promoting peace and liberty in this county. Bottom line, this sheriff would be out touching the people himself. And the officers are going to carry that same attitude, communicating with the people also. And it's going to be a fun deal for everyone when there's relationships developed like that instead of animosity.
Yeah, so the question is, how will you keep the community informed of changes or activity within the department?
I've actually talked to a couple of people already about a website, so I'm glad they brought it up. That I believe would be very important. A lot of people live on Facebook and love Facebook. The sheriff's office does have a Facebook page. It does need to be updated more. Also, we need to work on rebuilding our relationship with local newspapers. When I worked for the sheriff's office, we have gotten enough black eyes as law enforcement and this department here. What we need to do is whenever we do something good, the people need to know it. If we do something bad, they're gonna know it. If they don't, they should. They should know everything that we got going on. We definitely need to communicate to the people what's going on in the community, where we're having problem issues at, which most people already know, word travels, but we need to do better at communicating it to them.
Well, a lot of it was covered. Obviously, social media platforms are going to be a big opportunity or a big venue to get information out. An interactive website that's manned that can respond to questions that are a little bit more important. But I think one of the biggest ways that we can share that those changes within the community is increasing the quality of life in Sanders County. And the way that you do that is simply be engaged. You're engaged with our public, you're engaged with our schools, you're engaged with our businesses, you're engaged in the children. They're who we're going to hand the baton to next. And they talk a lot. And engaging the children in our education system is going to be a big part of what I want to do. Obviously, if you've got a group of people that are collaborative, that are talking every day internally, they're building a plan and executing it in unison, i.e. our deputies and our sheriffs, and they're engaging with the community, that's going to be another level of continuous information that's being touched out there with each individual person within the community. But I think the biggest thing is for us to be engaged. We need to be out there. If you establish procedures and you establish a means for deputies to feel valuable in what they're doing, they're going to be happy to talk about what they're doing. And as peace officers, that's what their job is. That's the number one thing. If you reserve the peace in the community, you get to talk about that and it gets very exciting. And so I think that that's really kind of sums up how I would get it out there. Thank you.
From being last, I guess all of the above. Obviously, social media is a big deal, and although I'm not a fan of most of it, it is huge. So definitely upgrading, like Lenny said, the website and Facebook page, but also monitoring it and keeping it going, so you don't have to, once a week check it. It should be something new going on every day. In my previous office, I know we had representatives from the local newspapers actually show up every day. And we had one of the command staff that met with the local newspapers every day. Sometimes it was boring for them, there wasn't much going on. But they were there every day, and when something was going on, they got cracks at it. And that's huge on letting the community know what's going on. And it's already been mentioned again, but I think it's huge that you get out and talk to people. There's no reason why the sheriff can't engage the newspaper and just go to some of these local events and talk about what you're doing and how it's going. Hey, I've got a new policy or a new program going on, whether it be in a Citizens Academy or a new cadet program or something like that. Get out and sell it. You need to tell the folks what's going on, what you're doing with your time and their money. So I think it's very, very important. Like I said, again, all of the above, there's a lot of really great ideas that we just put out here, and I can't disagree with all of them. The thing is we got to talk to folks. The whole secret squirrel stuff that cops are notorious for doesn't work. We don't need to keep that stuff under hat. Obviously, if you're in the middle of an investigation, you can't let certain things out, but people want to know. It's your community. And so, like I said, kind of ditto all of the above. Good ideas.
And our last question, we'll start with Mr. French. How would you describe your management style?
My management style is, I don't like micromanagement. The assignments, and let the person develop in that with training and aid and communication available at all times as the person is developing their own style. Put up the fences on what's allowable and what's not, but let the personality of that individual flourish. I have to mention constitutional criteria. There has to be fences on behavior constitutionally. And so that would be part of the management style in evaluation and that sort of thing. So we're abiding in our oath. But as far as a management style with the individual staff, they need to know what their expectations are. They need to know what they need to do to advance. They want to be evaluated. They want to be constructively criticized in confidence. If they know that you care about them, you're not just tearing them up, that they'll allow you into their bubble so you can work with them. Am I coming close to answering your question? Yeah. You guys can expand on the rest of it.
Thanks, sir. I don't like micromanagers. I don't want to be one, but there are some things that are going to have to be micromanaged for a little bit until people get back on track. Once they get back on track, I believe being firm but fair but approachable. Definitely an open door policy, not just for the deputies or any of the staff, but also for the citizens. There shouldn't be any reason why they can't get a hold of their sheriff. Communication, Mark touched on a couple of good things there. You have to communicate to your people. You got to talk to them, you got to listen to them. See what kind of ideas they have, see what they have to offer. Try to work with each other and be a team. Thank you.
So I guess one of the biggest things that comes to mind is that I'm very versed in building and developing teams. And the word team is imperative and paramount to the success of the office. I have a little bit of a different level of experience from some of the candidates up here. I won't speak to all of them, but many of them. In that there are two types of leadership in terms of operations and vision. I've been in a situation to where I actually create the vision, and then I use people that are way smarter than I to help me deploy the vision. And so delegation is going to be paramount. You've got to make sure that you create a clear vision. You've got to create a clear and concise directive, and then you have to delegate, and through camaraderie and exemplifying the vision, you have to deploy it within the department. So it's going to be critical that we're all on the same sheet of music, and I'll go back to communication. That's going to be critical. I mean, even over communicating for a while so everybody understands that that's the direction we're going. We have different segments within the department. There's the operational segment, there's patrol, the deputies, the fiscal part of it, the administration, all of those things I've had a lot of experience with. And we have, from what I know, we do have a number of folks that are very good at what they do over in the department with a little bit of a leadership. I think that we can get that on course to where we're going to be once we start the training, I believe in training. Training is a big issue with me. Training and equipping our deputies to where we will be the best sheriff's department or equivalent to the best sheriff's department within the state of Montana.
I think Roy had a good point, firm but fair, but also, again, give the direction to your people. I like the team concept. I used to have fun going to work. We worked with a team. We all had the same goals in mind. Once the direction was given, we had to focus on what we were doing. Work was fun. We targeted bad guys. Probably wasn't so fun for the bad guys, but when you got your whole team working on it, that camaraderie builds. And camaraderie is huge inside any, whether it be a sheriff's office or a police agency. Without it, everybody's doing their own thing and nobody accomplishes anything. So another thing I believe in truly is because I still want to have fun. I believe you need to get out there and direct sometimes from the ground. Now, I understand that the sheriff's office has a lot of responsibilities and you can't go out there and work the streets every day. But every chance you get, I like surprising people. Even when I managed those 3 contract cities, there's nothing more relieving to get out of some of these meetings and go out and chase calls with my deputies. I truly enjoyed it, and they did too. So not only do you give direction from the bench, you might say, and give them a policy manual, but you go out and show them how you want it played out, and you have fun doing it. Deputies are like little kids. Police officers are like little kids. We all like excitement, but they also want to know somebody's got their back. And I will always have my deputies' back. We all make mistakes. All I would ever ask, and if you make a mistake, you own up to it. We'll work through it. I don't want to see anybody's career destroyed because they make a small mistake. If they lie about it, then that's the kiss of death. But it's always been the policy of myself to treat everybody fair, and we'll work through whatever it takes, but let's have some fun doing it.
I'll go back to what I said before. I think one of the biggest things the sheriff can do is lead by example. And in the 10 years that I've been the undersheriff, I don't set the goals and the direction and the vision for the agency, but I have worked with the deputies a lot. And very frequently, I'll work till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning or longer to help cover lapses in the schedule, to help back them on calls. And I think I could very easily continue that, probably not to the same scale as the sheriff, because you do have other priorities. But I think, my management style is, I'm not a micromanager either, but you have to remember the investment that we have in our people. Cops, deputies, police officers, they don't do this job for the money. They do it because they get satisfaction out of doing the job. So your management styles have to plug into that. And you need to let those people develop those abilities that they have.
All right, thank you again. I really appreciate all your openness and your honesty. Thank you again for everyone who came tonight. I hope you enjoyed this opportunity to connect with our candidates. Everyone will stick around if you have specific questions for them. And also, if you'll please give a round of applause to Debbie and Eric from the Rex. Thank you so much for their help. And again, we'll have another forum Thursday night at 6 at the Paradise Center. So thank you, everyone. Drive safe.
Thanks, sir. Oh, thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you. Okay. Well, thanks for coming.